My sisters told me, "You're just the backup parent. We deserve Mom's inheritance, not you." I smiled and said nothing, but what I did next destroyed their perfect little world, and I'm glad you're here with me to hear this story. Please like this video and let me know which city you're listening from so I can see how far my story has traveled. I never thought I'd be the villain in my own family's story, but sometimes being called a villain is better than being called a doormat. My name is Rachel, I'm 42 years old, and I live in Minneapolis, Minnesota. This is the story of how my two entitled sisters tried to steal everything from me and how I made sure they got exactly what they deserved. Let me take you back to where it all started. I'm the youngest of 3 daughters. My sisters, Patricia and Jennifer, are 48 and 45 respectively. Growing up, they were always the golden children. Patricia was the beauty queen, Jennifer was the academic star, and I was just Rachel, the quiet one, the responsible one, the one who stayed close to home while they chased their dreams in New York and Los Angeles. Our parents, Margaret and David Chen, were immigrants from Taiwan who built a successful restaurant business in Minneapolis. 3 locations, all thriving, plus commercial property they owned outright. They worked 16-hour days, 7 days a week for decades. I watched them sacrifice everything to build something meaningful. Patricia moved to New York at 22 to pursue modeling and acting. She married Rich, a hedge fund manager named Bradley. Penthouse in Manhattan, kids in schools that cost more than most people's yearly salary. She visited maybe twice a year, Christmas and sometimes Thanksgiving if it was convenient. Jennifer went to Stanford, then Harvard Law. Corporate attorney in Los Angeles, married another attorney named Marcus. Beautiful house in Beverly Hills, luxury cars, designer everything. She visited even less, once a year maybe. And then there was me, University of Minnesota, high school teacher, married Tom, a general contractor, 2 kids, Emma and Lucas, now 14 and 11. We bought a modest house 15 minutes from my parents. We weren't wealthy, but we were present. When Dad had his first stroke 8 years ago, who was there? Me. Patricia sent flowers. Jennifer sent a fruit basket. I was the one holding Mom's hand in the hospital. I learned physical therapy routines, medication schedules, how to help Dad relearn basic tasks. Dad recovered mostly, but he was slower, frailer. The restaurants became too much. I started helping after my teaching job. Evenings, weekends, summers, I learned the business from the ground up. Tom helped too, handling maintenance, saving them thousands. Our kids grew up in those restaurants, doing homework in back booths. My sisters, they had opinions from thousands of miles away. You should modernize the menu. You need better marketing. But when Mom asked if they could visit to help, there was always an excuse. Bradley's work, Marcus's trial, the kids' activities. 5 years ago, Mom was diagnosed with breast cancer. I was there for every appointment, every surgery, every chemo session. I held her hand while the poison dripped into her veins. I helped her to the bathroom when she was too weak to walk. I cleaned her house, cooked meals, made sure Dad took his medications. Patricia came for the surgery. 4 days, lots of Instagram photos showing what a devoted daughter she was. Then back to New York for a charity gala she absolutely couldn't miss. Jennifer video called from LA, sent expensive care packages, but never got on a plane. Mom beat the cancer, 4 years in remission now, but those months changed her, made her face mortality. She started talking about estate planning. That's when my sisters suddenly became very interested in family affairs. The first conversation happened at Christmas 3 years ago. We were all together, rare occurrence. Patricia brought it up over dinner. Mom, Dad, we need to talk about succession planning for the restaurants. What about it? Mom asked, looking tired. Well, Jennifer jumped in with her lawyer voice, you're both getting older. Dad's health issues, Mom's cancer scare. You should probably look at selling. Cash out while the market's good. My stomach dropped. Sell, these restaurants were their legacy, their life's work. Sell, why would we sell? Dad's voice was quiet but firm. Dad, be realistic, Patricia said. You can't run them forever, and Rachel, no offense, she's a teacher, she doesn't have business experience. I've been helping run these restaurants for 8 years, I said, keeping my voice level. I know every aspect of the operation. Jennifer gave me a condescending smile. Rachel, sweetie, there's a difference between helping out and actually managing a business. You've been wonderful assisting, really, but running a multi-location restaurant business requires real business acumen. Real business acumen, I repeated. I've increased revenue at the downtown location by 23% in 2 years. I've streamlined supply chain, cut waste by 15%. I implemented a new reservation system that improved table turnover. What exactly do you call that? We're not saying you haven't tried, Patricia used that infuriating soothing tone. We're just saying maybe it's time to bring in professionals, or sell to professionals. Mom and Dad could finally relax. Mom finally spoke. Girls, your father and I will discuss this and make decisions when we're ready. This is not a conversation for Christmas dinner. But the seed was planted. Over the next year my sisters called more often, not to check on health, to discuss business opportunities, to send articles about restaurant acquisitions, to mention friends who'd sold their businesses and were so much happier. Then I got a call from Aunt Susan, Mom's younger sister in Seattle. Rachel, I don't know if I should tell you this, but Patricia called asking questions about your mother's estate. My blood ran cold. What kind of questions? She wanted to know if I knew how much the restaurants were worth, if I knew what was in the will. She said she and Jennifer were concerned that maybe someone was influencing your mother's decisions. Someone, she meant me. Aunt Susan, I haven't talked to Mom about her will. I know, honey, but Patricia was very persistent. She said something about making sure family assets were distributed fairly. Rachel, I've watched you care for your parents for years. Your sisters show up for photo opportunities. I thought you should know they're making moves. I didn't say anything to Mom and Dad. What could I say? So I stayed quiet, kept working, kept caring, and waited. The breaking point came 6 months ago. Mom and Dad decided to update their estate plan. Their attorney, George Morrison, called a family meeting, all 3 daughters in person in Minneapolis. Patricia complained about timing. Jennifer tried Zoom. But George insisted, your parents want all of you here in person. We met at George's office on a Tuesday morning. I arrived early with my parents. Patricia and Jennifer arrived together, dressed like a board meeting. Patricia in Chanel, Jennifer in Armani. I was in teaching clothes, khakis and cardigan. I felt suddenly less than. George's conference room was dark wood and leather. We sat around the table, parents at the head, George with stacks of papers, 3 daughters lined up like waiting for judgment. Thank you for coming, George said. Margaret and David want to review their updated estate plan. They want transparency. He opened the folder. The estate consists of 3 restaurants, commercial property and their residents, also investment accounts and savings. Total estimated value, approximately $4.2 million. Jennifer's eyes lit up. Patricia sat straighter. Margaret and David have made the following decisions, George continued. The personal residence will be sold upon both their deaths, proceeds divided equally among all 3 daughters. Investment accounts and savings also divided equally. However, the restaurants and commercial property will be transferred entirely to Rachel. Silence. Then Patricia, what? The business and property go to Rachel, George repeated calmly. Your parents determined she has demonstrated the commitment, knowledge and capability to continue the family business. That's insane, Jennifer said sharply. That's 70% of the estate value going to one child. How is that fair? Dad spoke up because Rachel is the one who's been here. Rachel learned the business. Rachel earned it. Earned it, Patricia's voice rose. Dad, we have our own careers, our own lives. We couldn't just drop everything and play restaurant manager. That doesn't mean we deserve less. You visit twice a year, Mom said softly. Rachel has been here every day for 8 years. When your father had his stroke, Rachel took leave from teaching. When I had cancer, Rachel was at every appointment. She sacrificed her time, her energy, her own family to support us. The restaurants would have failed without her. So hire a manager, Jennifer snapped. Pay Rachel a salary, but this, you're essentially disinheriting 2 of your children. You're still getting the house and savings, I said quietly. That's still several $100,000 each. Patricia turned to me with pure venom. Of course you're okay with this. You've been manipulating them for years, haven't you? Playing devoted daughter, all calculated to steal our inheritance. Patricia, Mom started. No, Mom, let's be honest. Rachel has had you all to herself for years. Years of whispering in your ears, making herself indispensable, making us look bad because we have actual careers. This discussion is over, Dad said, his hand shaking as he hit the table. The stroke had left him with tremors when emotional. George, give them the documents. This is our decision. Final. George distributed copies. Jennifer snatched hers, already looking for loopholes. Patricia took hers slowly, face a mask of rage. "You'll regret this," Jennifer said. "This will tear this family apart." "The family was already apart," Mom said quietly. "We're just making it official." Outside, Patricia grabbed my arm hard. "You think you've won, you think you're so clever, but we're not done, not even close." Jennifer was on her phone calling someone, probably her lawyer. They left without saying goodbye to Mom and Dad. I drove my parents home in silence. Mom started crying. "Did we do the wrong thing?" "No," I said firmly. "You did the fair thing. Fair doesn't always mean equal." For a few weeks it was quiet, too quiet. Then the emails started. First from Jennifer, concerns regarding recent estate decisions. She talked about undue influence, questioned their mental capacity, given Dad's stroke and Mom's cancer. She said any attorney would question if they were truly of sound mind. She threatened legal action to protect their interests and ensure fair treatment. Patricia's email came next, softer but equally manipulative. Heartbroken, felt like losing family, never expected to be punished for having a successful life away from Minneapolis, begged them to reconsider, suggested all three sisters be equal partners, Rachel managing but all sharing ownership. Don't let Rachel's influence destroy what we have. Mom was in tears. The guilt trip was masterful. "You need to understand what they're doing," I told my parents. "They're building a legal case." Jennifer's email was full of legal terms, and Patricia's playing emotional manipulation. They're going to try every angle. "What should we do?" Dad asked, hands shaking. "Document everything. Your mental competency, your reasoning, the history of who's actually been running the business, and prepare for them to actually sue." George confirmed my suspicions. "I've received a letter from an attorney representing Jennifer and Patricia. They're requesting copies of all communications related to the estate plan. They're demanding an independent mental evaluation of your parents." "Can they do that?" "They can request it. Rachel, you need to prepare. This is going to get ugly." The social media campaign started a week later. Patricia posted on Facebook about family betrayal and elder manipulation. Didn't name me directly, but anyone who knew would understand. Hundreds of sympathetic comments. Jennifer was more subtle. Shared articles about elder abuse, about adult children who isolated and manipulated parents for financial gain. She'd comment, "So sad to see this happening, even in families you'd never expect." They were controlling the narrative. To the world, I was the villain. My phone started ringing. Relatives I hadn't heard from in years, checking in. Friends of my parents, concerned about unusual decisions. Even teaching colleagues who'd seen Patricia's posts, asking if I was dealing with family stuff. Then they escalated. Patricia and Jennifer filed a formal petition with the court, requesting a competency hearing for our parents. Claimed Dad's stroke and Mom's cancer could have affected judgment. Presented evidence. Sudden estate plan change, my role as primary caregiver framed as suspicious isolation. Statements from family members who'd heard concerning things. The court date was set for 6 weeks out. George prepared my parents. They'd need psychiatric evaluation, need to testify, medical records subpoenaed, financial decisions scrutinized. Mom stopped sleeping. Dad's tremors worsened. They were 73 and 71 and their daughters were dragging them to court. "Maybe we should just change it back," Mom cried one night. "Mom, if you change it now after they filed this petition, it looks like proof they were right, that you weren't competent and they bullied you. You'll be proving their case." I hired my own attorney, Lisa Tran, who specialized in estate disputes, expensive but necessary. "Your sisters made a mistake," Lisa said at our first meeting. "They filed out of anger but don't have a real case. Your parents see their doctors regularly. Medical records show no cognitive decline. The estate plan is rational, and you have 8 years of documented business involvement. Unless they can prove actual incompetence or you held a gun to your parents' heads, they're going to lose." Lisa was thorough. She gathered medical records, financial statements, testimony from restaurant staff, schedules showing my involvement versus my sister's absence. She documented every email, text, social media post, building a countercase. The psychiatric evaluations happened 3 weeks before court. Mom and Dad each spent 2 hours with Dr. Richard Pembroke, a forensic psychiatrist specializing in competency. I wasn't allowed present, which terrified me. But Dr. Pembroke's report was clear and unequivocal. Both Margaret and David Chen demonstrated full mental capacity. They understood their assets, options, and consequences. No signs of cognitive impairment, memory loss, or manipulation susceptibility. Their decision to leave the business to their youngest daughter was a rational choice based on years of observation. Patricia and Jennifer's attorney tried for a second evaluation. The judge denied it. The week before the hearing, my sisters made one last attempt. They showed up at my house unannounced. I let them in against my better judgment. "We want to make a deal," Jennifer said. "Drop the contest and we compromise. Restaurants get sold, proceeds divided, 50% to you, 25% each to us. Everyone walks away with something." "No," I said immediately. "Rachel, be reasonable," Patricia pleaded. "This court case will destroy Mom and Dad. The stress could kill them. Is that what you want?" "I'm not responsible for the court case. You filed it because you manipulated them into disinheriting us." Jennifer's composure cracked. "You've had them to yourself for 8 years, making us look bad, positioning yourself as indispensable, and now you're taking everything." "I'm taking what I earned, what I worked for, what I sacrificed for. You made choices. New York and LA, your careers, your lifestyles, valid choices, but choices have consequences. You can't be absent and then demand equal reward." "So that's it," Jennifer's lawyer mask returned. "You're willing to put our elderly parents through traumatic court battle, permanently destroy this family, all for money." "This isn't about money," I said. "This is about respect, about honoring people who actually did the work. Mom and Dad don't owe you their business. They chose, now you have to live with it." "You'll regret this," Patricia said coldly. "When you're old and alone and need family and there's no one there, you'll remember this moment." "I'll have Tom, I'll have my kids. I'll have family I built based on mutual respect, not financial obligation. I'll be fine." They left without saying goodbye. The court hearing was on a Thursday morning, smaller courtroom than expected, less dramatic. My parents sat with George, Patricia and Jennifer with their attorney, Gordon Chambers. Gordon painted a picture of elderly parents, traumatized by illness, isolated by manipulative youngest daughter. He implied emotional blackmail, dependency creation, suspicious estate plan change. He called Patricia to testify. She was good, cried at right moments, talked about loving parents, guilt over not visiting more, shock at being disinherited, made it sound like I'd orchestrated an elaborate scheme. Jennifer's testimony was clinical. Legal red flags, suspicious timing, imbalanced distribution, presented emails where Mom seemed confused about finances. Never mind those were right after chemo when Mom was barely functioning. Then our turn. George called Dr. Pembroke first. The psychiatrist was unshakable. Testified both Chens were fully competent, decision-making capacity intact, no evidence of cognitive decline or manipulation. Used multiple standardized tests, reviewed extensive medical records, interviewed third parties. Conclusion was sound. Under cross-examination, Gordon tried, suggesting a few hours couldn't capture long-term manipulation. Dr. Pembroke calmly explained his methodology was thorough and his conclusion solid. Then Mom took the stand. She looked small in the witness chair, fragile, but her voice was clear and firm. George walked her through gently. "When did Rachel start helping?" 8 years ago, after my husband's stroke." "How often?" "Every evening, every weekend. She became my partner, Patricia and Jennifer. They called sometimes, visited twice a year usually." "Mrs. Chen, did Rachel pressure you to change your will?" "No," Mom said firmly. "Rachel never asked for anything. She never mentioned the will. She just showed up every day and helped. My decision was based on watching her for 8 years, watching her sacrifice her time, her energy, sometimes her own family to support us. Patricia and Jennifer built their own lives. That's fine, but they didn't build this business. Rachel did." Gordon tried to break her on cross. "Isn't it true Rachel was at most medical appointments?" "Yes." "Had access to financial information?" "Yes, because I gave it to her." "Was present during attorney discussions?" "Yes, because I asked her there." "Doesn't that suggest unusual involvement, perhaps control?" Mom straightened. "Mr. Chambers, when you have cancer and you're vomiting every day and can't remember if you took medication, you need someone. Rachel was that someone, not because she manipulated me, because she showed up. My other daughters didn't. That's not Rachel's fault, that's their choice." The courtroom was silent. Dad testified next. Fewer words because the stroke affected verbal processing, but powerful. "Rachel earned it," he said simply. She was there, they weren't, that's the truth. Finally, I testified. Gordon went for the throat. I was a teacher making $52,000. The estate was worth over $3 million, so I stood to gain significantly. I stand to inherit a business I've been running for 8 years. If you want to call that gain, fine. Isn't it true you've been primary point of contact, that you controlled their access to your sisters? I've been present, I haven't controlled anything. My sisters had phone numbers, they could call anytime, they chose not to. You were present when the will was changed. Yes, because my parents asked me to be there. You didn't think it inappropriate to be present as primary beneficiary. My parents wanted transparency. Would you prefer they'd made decisions in secret? He tried more angles, I didn't give him anything. Stuck to facts, dates, times, hours worked, revenue numbers. This was business, 8 years of work, my life. The judge, Margaret Sims, took 2 days to review before ruling. Those days felt like years. Saturday morning, George called. The ruling came through, you need to sit down. My heart stopped, we lost. No, Rachel, you won completely. Judge Sims's ruling was 15 pages. Lisa walked me through it. The judge found no evidence of undue influence or diminished capacity, found Margaret and David Chen fully competent, making rational decisions based on years of observation. Patricia and Jennifer failed to provide concrete evidence of manipulation, only speculation and hurt feelings. But then came the devastating part. Judge Sims included a section on the nature of inheritance. She wrote, "Inheritance is a gift, not an entitlement. Parents have the right to distribute assets as they see fit, based on their own values and observations. The petitioners seem to believe equal distribution is required by law or morality. It is neither. Margaret and David Chen have chosen to reward the child who demonstrated commitment to their family and business. This is not favoritism. This is recognition of contribution. The court finds the estate plan to be fair, reasonable, and a reflection of the testator's true wishes." The final paragraph. Furthermore, the court notes with concern the tactics employed by petitioners. This petition appears motivated not by genuine concern for parents' welfare, but by financial self-interest. Petitioners caused significant emotional distress to elderly parents through public social media campaigns, familial pressure, and baseless legal accusations. The court strongly discourages such behavior. Petition denied. Costs awarded to respondents. Costs awarded to respondents. Patricia and Jennifer had to pay my parents' legal fees, plus their own, probably over $100,000 combined. I should have felt triumphant, but I just felt exhausted and sad, because winning meant my family was truly, irreparably broken. The backlash started within hours. Patricia's Facebook post was pure victim mentality. When your own family betrays you and the courts support it, when manipulation and isolation are rewarded with millions, heartbroken doesn't begin to cover it. Comments exploded with support from people who didn't know the truth. Jennifer's post was more calculated. After months fighting to protect our elderly parents from an imbalanced estate plan, the court ruled against us. We accept the legal outcome but not the moral one. Geography is not love. Proximity is not devotion. My phone rang constantly. I stopped looking at social media, stopped answering unknown numbers, focused on what mattered, my parents, my family, my work. But the damage was real. Patricia and Jennifer cut off all contact, not just with me but with Mom and Dad too. No calls, no visits, no acknowledgement of birthdays or holidays. If they couldn't have the money, they wouldn't have the family. It broke my parents' hearts. Dad's health declined again, another minor stroke 6 months later. The doctors said stress was a factor. Mom blamed herself, blamed the will, blamed everything except the daughters who chose money over family. I threw myself into the restaurants. If I was inheriting them, I'd make sure they thrived. I expanded the menu, modernized systems, started catering. Within a year, revenue increased 34%. I hired a general manager to handle day-to-day operations while I focused on strategy. I wanted my parents to see their decision was right. 2 years after the court ruling, Patricia's husband left her, affair with a 28-year-old associate. The divorce was brutal. Patricia lost the penthouse, lost half of everything, moved to a smaller apartment in Queens. Her Instagram went silent. I found out through Aunt Susan. She's struggling, financially, emotionally. She asked about your parents. She wanted to know how they were doing. She didn't ask me to call you, but I could hear it. She misses them, too proud to reach out. She could have reached out any time in 2 years. She chose not to. 6 months later, Jennifer's law firm was investigated for fraud. Not Jennifer specifically, but several senior partners accused of hiding assets. The firm collapsed. Jennifer lost her job, her reputation took a hit. Finding another position at her level was nearly impossible. She moved back to Minneapolis. I didn't know until I saw her at the grocery store. I was shopping after work, exhausted from grabbing papers. I turned down the cereal aisle and almost ran my cart into her. We both froze. She looked different, older, tired, designer clothes gone, replaced by jeans and a Target sweater, hair showing grey roots. "Rachel," she said quietly. "Jennifer." Silence. Other shoppers moved around us. "How are Mom and Dad?" she finally asked. "They're okay. Dad had another small stroke last year but recovered. Mom's still cancer-free." She nodded, eyes welling. "I miss them." "They miss you too." Would it be okay if I visited them?" I wanted to say no. You don't get to abandon your parents for 2 years and waltz back when your life falls apart. But I thought about Mom crying every Christmas because 2 daughters refused to come home. I thought about Dad asking every week if the girls had called. "That's not up to me," I said carefully. "You need to call them and ask." "Will you tell them I asked about them?" "I'll tell them I saw you." She nodded, tears spilling. "Rachel, she started, then stopped. "Never mind, thank you." That night I told my parents about the encounter. Mom's face lit up in a way I hadn't seen in 2 years. She asked about us. She did. She asked if she could visit. "Of course she can visit. She's my daughter. She's always welcome here." Dad was more cautious. "Did she apologize?" "No, she just said she missed you." Jennifer called 2 days later. Mom told me afterward. "She's moved back to Minneapolis. She's looking for work. Things didn't go well in Los Angeles. She asked if she could come for dinner on Sunday." "What did you say?" I said yes, of course I said yes. "Rachel, she's my daughter. I know she hurt us, but she's struggling. She needs family." "Mom, just be careful. Make sure she's here for the right reasons." "What do you mean?" "Make sure she's here to rebuild a relationship, not to get back in the will." Mom looked hurt. "Rachel, don't be cynical." But I couldn't help it. I'd learned my lesson about trusting my sister's motivations. Sunday dinner was awkward. Tom and I brought the kids as buffers. Jennifer arrived alone. Marcus stayed in LA, their marriage falling apart. She looked nervous. She brought flowers, asked about Dad's health, complimented Mom's cooking, asked about Emma and Lucas, about Tom's business, even my teaching. It felt very careful, very controlled. Over dumplings and rice, Jennifer finally addressed it. "I owe you all an apology. What Patricia and I did, the court case, the social media, all of it, it was wrong. I was angry and felt entitled to something I hadn't earned. Rachel was right. I'm sorry for the pain we caused." Mom started crying. Dad squeezed Jennifer's hand. "We forgive you," Mom said. "Of course we forgive you." But I noticed something. Jennifer's apology was vague. Sorry for the pain we caused. Not for lying in court. Not for trying to prove them incompetent, not for the specific cruelty. And she said we, including Patricia, but was she really speaking for both? After dinner, Jennifer cornered me in the kitchen. "Can we talk?" she asked quietly. "We are talking. I mean really talk. Without everyone else." We went to the backyard. The sun was setting, casting shadows across Mom's garden. "I really am sorry," Jennifer said. "I know you don't believe me, but I am. I was wrong, Rachel, about so many things." "What changed your mind, the court ruling or your life falling apart?" She flinched, both honestly. Losing the case forced me to face truths I'd been avoiding. Then losing my job, my marriage falling apart, moving back with nothing. It's humbling. Makes you realize what actually matters. "And what matters?" "Family, real family, not the performance of family. I spent years being angry that you were the good daughter and we were the bad daughters. But we made those choices. You didn't force us to move away. You didn't force us to prioritize careers over visits. We did that. And when Mom and Dad recognized your sacrifice, instead of being happy for you, we tried to destroy you. That's on us." I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to. Jennifer, I accept your apology, but trust is earned, not given. If you want to rebuild relationships with Mom and Dad, with me, with this family, it's going to take time. And consistent action, not just words. I understand, I'm prepared for that. And the will isn't changing, just so we're clear. She nodded. I know, I'm not here for the will. I'm here because I lost my family and I want it back. Over the next 6 months, Jennifer proved she meant it. She came to family dinners every Sunday. She started helping at the restaurants, not managing, just working, hostessing, helping in the kitchen, learning the business from the ground up like I had. She got a job at a mid-sized law firm in downtown Minneapolis, not the prestige of LA, but honest work. She rented a small apartment. She filed for divorce. She was rebuilding with humility I'd never seen from her. Mom thrived with Jennifer back. The light returned to her eyes. Dad was more cautious but started to soften as Jennifer kept showing up, kept being present, kept not asking for anything. But Patricia was different. She didn't come back, didn't call. According to Aunt Susan, she was bitter about Jennifer's reconciliation, saw it as betrayal. The entitlement remained. 3 years after the court ruling, Dad had a massive stroke. Bad, ICU for 2 weeks, then rehab. The doctors said he'd never fully recover. He'd need round-the-clock care. I called Patricia, first time we'd spoken since the grocery store encounter. Dad's had a severe stroke. If you want to see him, you should come now. She flew in the next day. When she walked into the ICU and saw Dad connected to machines, breathing tube monitors everywhere, she broke down, completely broke down. Mom held her while she sobbed. I'm so sorry, Daddy. I'm so sorry I wasn't here. I'm so sorry for everything. Dad's eyes filled with tears. He couldn't speak, but he squeezed her hand with his left hand. The forgiveness was instant, complete. Patricia stayed a week. She and Jennifer took shifts at the hospital with Mom and me. We didn't talk about the past, didn't talk about the will, just Dad's care and recovery. In the face of real crisis, old conflicts seemed suddenly petty. One night, very late, just Patricia and me in the ICU waiting room, she finally spoke. You were right, she said quietly. About everything. I spent years building this life I thought mattered. The apartment, the clothes, the perfect Instagram, and none of it was real. None of it lasted. You know what did last, what you built here, with Mom and Dad, with the restaurants, with your family, that's real. And I threw it away for money I never earned and a life that was all surface. Patricia, let me finish. I was cruel to you. I tried to destroy you because I was jealous. Jealous that you had what I pretended I didn't want. Purpose, real relationships, a life that meant something. I'm not asking forgiveness. I don't deserve that. But I need you to know I see it now. I understand what I lost. And I'm sorry. Really, truly sorry. I looked at my older sister, once so powerful and perfect, now humbled by life and loss. She was genuine. I forgive you, I said quietly, not because you deserve it, but because I'm tired of carrying anger, and because Dad would want us to. She nodded, tears streaming. Thank you. Dad came home 3 weeks later. We converted the first-floor office, hospital bed, round-the-clock nursing. He was paralyzed on his right side, could only speak a few words, needed help with everything. The vibrant man who'd built 3 restaurants was gone. What remained was still him, still Dad. Both sisters stepped up. Patricia moved back to Minneapolis permanently, got a marketing job, found an apartment near Mom and Dad's. Jennifer was already here. They alternated days helping with Dad's care, giving breaks. They worked shifts at restaurants when short-staffed. They showed up to family dinners. They called. They were present. It wasn't perfect. There were still awkward moments, old wounds surfacing, but we were rebuilding, slowly, carefully building something real. 8 months after Dad's stroke, on a quiet Tuesday evening, he passed away. Mom found him in the morning, peaceful, just gone. Another stroke during the night, quick and painless. He was 74. The funeral was huge. The restaurants had been part of the community for 40 years. People came from all over. The whole Minneapolis Asian community turned out. A testament to what Dad had built, not just in business but in relationships. My sisters and I stood together, united front. We gave the eulogy together. Patricia talked about his sacrifice, coming to a new country with nothing. Jennifer talked about his integrity, honest in business. I talked about his hands that had cooked thousands of meals, built furniture when money was tight, held mine when I was scared, trembled when frustrated by stroke limitations. We cried together. We held Mom together. We were, for that week of mourning, a family again. After the funeral, George called us for the will reading. Almost anticlimactic. We all knew what it said. Restaurants and property to me, house and savings divided equally. Dad never changed it, even after Patricia and Jennifer came back, even after reconciliation. But there was a letter. Dad had written it before his final stroke, updating regularly. George had the last version, written 2 weeks before Dad died. He wanted me to read this to all 3 of you together, George said. We sat in his office, 3 sisters, Mom holding our hands, and George read. My dearest daughters, if you're hearing this, I'm gone. I hope I lived long enough to see you all reconciled, to see our family whole again. I'm leaving the business to Rachel, not because I love her more, but because she earned it. She was there when we needed her. She learned the business. She kept it running when your mother and I couldn't. This is not punishment for Patricia and Jennifer. This is reward for Rachel. But to Patricia and Jennifer, I want to say I am so proud of you. Proud of your achievements, your strength, your resilience. You built your own lives, your own success. That takes courage. I always admired. When things fell apart and you came home, when you showed humility and grace, when you showed humility and grace, when you rebuilt relationships you damaged, I was prouder of you than I'd ever been. Because success is easy to love, but redemption, that's harder. That takes real character. I'm leaving you the house where you grew up, where your mother and I raised you. I'm leaving you savings to help you rebuild. But more than that, I'm leaving you with your mother, your sister, and hopefully a restored family. That's worth more than any restaurant. Rachel, my reliable daughter, you sacrificed so much for us. Don't let the business consume you the way it consumed me. Hire help, delegate, live your life, and take care of your mother and your sisters. Be generous with what I've given you, not with money, but with grace. All 3 of you, forgive each other. Forgive yourselves. Life is too short for grudges. I built this business to give you security, but I raised you to give you love. Don't confuse which one matters more. I love you all, equally, completely, always. Dad. We were all crying by the time George finished. Even George had tears in his eyes. He wrote this 2 weeks before he died, George said quietly. He called me and said he needed to update it. He said he'd watched his daughters find their way back to each other, and he needed them to know how proud he was. Mom was sobbing. Patricia and Jennifer were holding each other. I was trying to breathe through the grief and the weight of Dad's words. That night, the 3 of us sisters sat in Mom's living room, our childhood living room, and we talked. Really talked, maybe for the first time in decades. I don't want the house, Patricia said suddenly. I mean, I'm grateful for the inheritance, but Rachel, you should have the house. You've been here, you've taken care of Mom. When she's ready to downsize, the house should be yours. Patricia, no, Dad divided things the way he wanted. I agree with Patricia, Jennifer interrupted. The house should be yours. We'll split the savings 3 ways like Dad wanted, but the house, you've earned that too. You don't have to do this. We want to, Patricia said firmly. We're not doing this out of guilt or manipulation. We're doing this because it's right, because Dad was right. You earned it. We amended the will the next week. Mom was moving to a senior living community anyway. The house was too big, too full of memories of Dad. Patricia and Jennifer signed over their portions to me. The savings were divided as Dad specified. But more importantly, we established something new. A family. A real one, built not on obligation or money, but on mutual respect and hard work and forgiveness. 5 years have passed since Dad died. The restaurants are thriving. I eventually quit teaching and managed them full-time, but I hired an excellent general manager and a solid administrative team. I work sane hours. I have time for Tom, for my kids. Emma's in college now. Lucas is in high school, for my family. Patricia works in our marketing department. She's brilliant at it, better than any consultant we could have hired. She manages our social media, our community outreach, our brand. She's rebuilt her life into something authentic, something meaningful. Jennifer handles our legal affairs, contracts, leases, employment issues. She took a massive pay cut from her LA days, but she says she's happier. She's dating someone new, a teacher at Lucas's high school. They're taking it slow, building something real. Mom lives in a beautiful assisted living community 10 minutes from my house. We have Sunday dinners every week, all of us. My family, Patricia and her kids who visit regularly from New York, Jennifer and her boyfriend. Sometimes Aunt Susan visits from Seattle. We're loud, chaotic, full of different opinions and occasional arguments, but we're together. The restaurants are no longer just mine. Patricia and Jennifer don't have ownership stake. That's not what this is about, but they have purpose there. They have a role. They're part of the legacy Dad built, not because they inherited it, but because they earned their place in it through years of consistent action and genuine change. I still have the court documents from that awful competency hearing. I keep them in a file in my office, not as a trophy, but as a reminder. A reminder of what we almost lost. A reminder of what happens when entitlement and greed override love and family. A reminder that sometimes you have to protect what's yours, even from the people you love. But I also have Dad's final letter framed on my office wall. The part that says forgive each other, forgive yourselves is highlighted, because that's the real lesson, not the legal victory, not the inheritance, not even the business success. The real lesson is that people can change, that families can heal, that forgiveness, real forgiveness, is possible even after the deepest betrayals. But it requires something most people aren't willing to give: genuine remorse, consistent action, and time. You can't apologize your way out of years of cruelty. You have to earn your way out. My sisters earned their way back. It took years. It took humility. It took them losing everything they thought mattered and discovering what actually does. Not everyone is capable of that. Some people stay in their entitlement forever, always the victim, always owed something they never earned. But Patricia and Jennifer did the work. They faced their own ugliness, they changed, and because of that we have something rare and precious, a family restored. Looking back now, I don't regret fighting for the will. I don't regret the court battle, the pain, the family destruction, because it was necessary. Sometimes you have to burn everything down to build something real. Sometimes you have to lose each other to find each other again. The restaurants Mom and Dad built are still here, still feeding the community, still employing people, still carrying the Chen name. But more than that, the family they built is still here, scarred, imperfect but whole. That's the real inheritance, not the property or the money or the business. The real inheritance is the choice we make every day to show up, to do the work, to be present, to earn our place in each other's lives. Dad was right. Rachel was his reliable daughter, but Patricia found redemption, Jennifer found humility, and together we found our way home. Last month we had a special family dinner at the downtown restaurant, the one where I'd first started learning the business 8 years ago. All of us together, Mom, me and Tom and the kids, Patricia and her children, Jennifer and her boyfriend. We raised our glasses to toast Dad's memory. To David Chen, I said, my voice breaking slightly, who taught us that family isn't just about blood, it's about showing up, it's about earning your place, it's about forgiveness when it's deserved, and it's about love that's strong enough to survive even our worst mistakes. To Dad, my sisters echoed, and for the first time in years, saying those words together felt right. Mom looked around the table, tears streaming down her face, but she was smiling. Your father would be so proud of all of you, not for what you own or what you've accomplished, but for this, for finding your way back to each other. She was right. This was what Dad had wanted all along, not the perfect division of assets, not the business success, not even the absence of conflict. He wanted us to understand that inheritance is earned through love and sacrifice and presence, that forgiveness is possible when people do the real work of change, that family, real family, is built on respect and consistency and showing up day after day, year after year. I look at my sisters now, and I see something different than I did 5 years ago. I don't see the entitled women who tried to steal my inheritance. I see 2 people who lost their way, hit rock bottom, and found the courage to climb back up. I see 2 women who chose humility over pride, family over money, and redemption over resentment. And I see myself differently too. I'm not the martyr I sometimes felt like. I'm not the victim of their greed. I'm the woman who stood her ground, who protected what she'd earned, who had the strength to say no when it mattered, and the grace to say yes when it mattered even more. So what would you do if your sisters tried to steal your inheritance? Would you fight? Would you forgive? Would you have the strength to do both? The answer isn't simple. Every family is different. Every situation is unique. But here's what I learned. You don't owe anyone your inheritance, your sacrifice, or your dignity, not even family, especially not family who only shows up when there's something to gain. But if they do the work, if they truly change, if they earn their way back, then maybe, just maybe, you owe them a second chance, not a free pass, not a return to how things were, but a chance to build something new, something real, something based on mutual respect rather than obligation or entitlement. That's up to you to decide, just like it was up to me. And I decided that protecting myself and forgiving my sisters weren't mutually exclusive. I could do both. I could keep the inheritance I'd earned while opening my heart to the family who'd finally learned what it means to deserve a place in it. That's not weakness. That's not being a doormat. That's wisdom. That's knowing the difference between people who are sorry they got caught and people who are genuinely sorry for what they did. That's understanding that some bridges once burned can be rebuilt, but only if both sides are willing to do the construction work. My sisters rebuilt their side, and when I saw that, truly saw it, I rebuilt mine. And now we have something stronger than what we had before, because it's built on truth, not pretense, on earned respect, not assumed entitlement, on chosen connection, not obligatory blood ties. The restaurants are thriving, the family is whole, and Dad's legacy, the real legacy, the one that matters, lives on, not just in the business he built, but in the lessons he taught us, even from beyond the grave, especially from beyond the grave. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it gives someone out there the courage to stand up for themselves when family takes advantage, the wisdom to know when forgiveness is deserved, and the grace to extend it when the time is right. Please like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and let me know what city you're listening from, because your story matters too. And maybe, just like mine traveled to you, yours will travel to someone who needs to hear it. Remember, respect is earned, not given. Inheritance is a gift, not an entitlement. And family, real family, is built on mutual love and sacrifice, not just shared DNA. Take care of yourselves, stand up for what's yours, but don't close your heart to redemption when it's genuine, because sometimes the most ruthless payback isn't revenge. It's living well, protecting what's yours, and having the grace to forgive when people finally earn it. That's the lesson Dad taught us, and it's the lesson I'm passing on to you,